Greetings, citizens of the United States. Many of you have heard the recent stories about tracked wire. Constant video surveillance is an issue we presently face. However, there are a number of ways that you can combat this surveillance. Wearing a mask is a common way to keep your identity hidden. However, a mask does not protect against biometric authentication, also cause problems depending where you want to go. Another way to avoid facial recognition is to tilt your head more than 15 degrees to programming. They will not be able to detect very obvious cons to doing this. Using a similar method, you can distort your face through elaborate makeup. This method also takes advantage of software limits, as the computer will not be able to detect a face. But these are tiresome ways that tend to draw attention to yourself. Surely there are better solutions to avoid being added to a database. Did you know that a laser pointer can disable surveillance cameras? A tripod in a scope will help ensure it remains pointed at the camera. But we do have one last way to combat this surveillance. This method requires a little bit of work though. With nothing more than a hat, some infrared LEDs, some wiring, and a 9-volt battery, you can create a device to render yourself invisible. It guarantees complete anonymity to cameras while appearing perfectly normal to the rest of the world. While the government may be hell-bent on watching us at every moment of every day, we are not helpless. There are always ways of fighting back. Let's remind them that 1984 was not an instruction manual. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
The city's homeless problem, however, is worse now than ever, according to a new report which says that nearly 115,000 people went homeless last year, including nearly 40,000 children. Coalition for the Homeless Workers lay the blame squarely at the feet of Mayor Michael Bloomberg.
He replaced the federal programs with a series of time-limited subsidies that give you only 1 or 2 years of housing assistance and then cut you off, even if the family is too poor to afford the apartment rent. And so as a result of that, lots of families are ending up making a return trip through the city shelter system. It's indisputable that we've got more homeless people now.
That the shelters are overpacked because people are losing their jobs. They're going from their apartments or homes to the city shelters. People that don't take the services, they don't know about them.
Among the many predictions about this recession, one has consistently proven to be true. Forecasters have said unemployment will continue to rise, and it has. Today, the government reported another 467,000 jobs lost in June, taking unemployment to 9.5%, and that's the highest level in more than a quarter century. The rising unemployment raises questions about the economic stimulus, which was supposed to create jobs.
Since the recession began, 6.5 million Americans have lost their jobs, and the unemployment rate
Columbia,
has
South Carolina,
doubled.
voted unanimously to ban all homeless people from its downtown business area. Violators will be jailed, but those who wish to comply can stay at a shelter just outside the city limits. The catch is that they have to be among the first 240 to get there and are not permitted to leave the grounds by any means other than the official shuttle booked by appointment. It's estimated that Columbia has over 1,500 homeless citizens. Police have been assigned to patrol both the restricted city region and the road near the shelter to make sure no homeless people are meandering around either. Should the officers not catch all of the individuals violating the new plan, business owners and residents are encouraged to call the new hotline set up by the city. According to the councilman who proposed the plan, the removal of several benches throughout the city is another measure being taken to ensure the homeless don't make themselves comfortable. South Carolina's ACLU legal director is looking into the situation and said that giving the limited options of being jailed or shuttled out of town is an abuse of power.
For the past 8 years, Dan Duvall has run a sober living center for about 30 homeless people on his 72-acre ranch. In California, a 66-year-old man was jailed Monday after being accused of illegally housing homeless people on his ranch in San Luis Obispo.
Moments after police received reports of strange activity in the area. Whilst police have found no evidence to support such claims, they have suggested that there is a strong possibility they are linked to the disappearances.
Yes, we're talking about a different kind of mystery, though. Disappearances that are not caused by predator attacks or criminals hiding out there in the woods or just bad luck.
I've instructed the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation to issue regulations that would ban outdoor feeding in all city parks.
He was charged with violating Orlando's new city ordinance that bans feeding homeless people gathered in large groups.
Like sleeping on a park bench, eating on sidewalks, or congregating in public spaces, all crimes. This would, in effect, criminalize homelessness.
The regulations are so out of control that in cities all across the U.S., you now have to think twice before giving a hungry person anything to eat.
Transportation, is this an emergency?
You said medical transportation?
Yes.
What organization is this?
This is an ambulance company.
Yeah, because I seen some posting. I seen a posting somewhere about for homeless people.
Well, we provide transportation to the shelters in the sub-degree temperatures on the regular basis. United Way does that through 211.
Oh, okay. Where, like, because, like, in our area, there's, like, when the shelters come, like, they're, like, at full occupancy half the time. Where do they take the people from there if they don't have any room in the shelters?
Don't know.
You're not sure?
Not sure. Maybe they transfer to others, but I'm not sure exactly.
Huh. So you guys just basically, you just dispatch them and... Huh.
They transfer them out. They have someone that coordinates that is not on site here, that are out in the ambulance or in the vehicles that are transporting.
Oh, they don't...
Communicating with
They don't use...
find out where.
They don't use ambulances to transport them. Then they use other means of transportation.
Correct.
Huh. And nobody knows where they take the people when shelters are at maximum occupancy, basically.
They coordinate with the shelters. They speak with the shelters on the people that they're bringing in, and they coordinate to take them somewhere else. Where it is, I'm not sure of exactly how the exact ins and outs of that works.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks so much for your time. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Out there that has passed legislation that is criminalizing homelessness. City council members in Columbia, South Carolina recently voted unanimously to give people on the streets the option to relocate or to get arrested. Now, this stems from concerns that Columbia has become a, quote, magnet for homeless people, according to the city's emergency homeless response report. And council members are urging people that this is just a temporary stopgap measure. That's something that Councilman Cameron Runyon told local station WIS-TV about. Take a listen.
This is stopgap. This is going to open up a window of opportunity for us to come together as a community to develop the long-term response to this problem. This problem has plagued us for a generation and a half at least.
So you can't come up with the long-term response yet. You just start arresting people. I'd say that it's pretty troubling, John. And as I mentioned, it's not the first city in the United States that we've seen resort to similar measures.
No, there's a few cities that have done this. And, I know they talk about the fact that there's a off-site homeless shelter that they can ship the homeless they arrest to, but one, they have nowhere near the number of beds that equal the Columbia's homeless population, and two, it's police guarded. They can't leave without permission. They have to be shuttled to and from on a special shuttle bus. So I'm not sure, is this a shelter or prison for the homeless? But at the same time, a lot of cities, we've talked about several cities that have been doing this, cited in the article. Cities obviously are looking at their downtown business districts, want to bring in people, but at the same time, let's look at addressing the root cause of homelessness, not criminalizing, the fact that someone, just doesn't have a home because they may not have the job, they may not have the money. A lot of other cities are looking at other ways to address homelessness, not, arresting them, shipping them out to someplace in the middle of no place and putting them in a shelter that may or may not be homeless jail. So
yeah, it's not addressing the problem. It's just that mentality of locking people up and throwing away the key and trying to just forget about it and not even have to acknowledge or visually see that this problem exists anymore, which, I just think is a horrifying development.
Hello and welcome to this video cast for subscribers to davidicke.com. Well, a couple of the themes of video casts in the last few weeks come together this week. One of the themes is the world is mad, completely bonkers, and the other is the network of Western orchestrated and engineered terrorist groups that are causing mayhem in the Middle East and Africa to create the circumstances for a Western takeover, cabal takeover. And those two themes come together in this organization that's, of course, all over the news because of what it's doing now in Iraq, a group called ISIS. And now that's a very significant name, which I'll get to later. ISIS is the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, because they want to take over that whole area, and the Islamic State in Iraq and Al-Sham is another version of ISIS, and Al-Sham is actually very appropriate, although perhaps Al-Scam would be much better, because a scam it is. It's another movie, a horror movie, yes, but it's another movie designed to orchestrate events that eventually will allow the subjugation and control of the whole of the Middle East and, in the end, the whole of Africa. Now, this ISIS was supposed to have kind of started about 2004, but it was in April 2013 that it took the present name and started heading towards what it's doing now. And it's said that it is an outgrowth, if you like, from Al-Qaeda. And the propaganda is that it's so extreme, ISIS, that it was too extreme for Al-Qaeda. Now, they are trying to, or have spent all these years, seeking to sell us the lie that this Al-Qaeda organization was behind 9/11, and if you can get more extreme than doing what happened on that day, they didn't, but the propaganda wants us to believe that, then how extreme must this ISIS be, according to this propaganda, that it's too extreme for Al-Qaeda? Load of bloody rubbish. And let's go back to a base position here, in fact, a database position. And that is that there is no Al-Qaeda in the way that it is portrayed by Western propaganda, the way that it is described in terms of its structure. This is Robin Cook, former British Foreign Secretary, very soon before he died, actually. And he said this: throughout the 1980s, Osama bin Laden was armed by the CIA and funded by the Saudis to wage jihad against the Russian occupation of Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda, literally the database, was originally, he said, the computer file of the thousands of mujahideen who were recruited and trained with help from the CIA to defeat the Russians. Inexplicably, Cook says, and with disastrous consequences, it never appears to have occurred to Washington that once Russia was out of the way, bin Laden's organization would turn its attention to the West. Well, it's not inexplicable. It's how the game works. The idea is to create these terror groups, or in many cases create the belief in these terror groups and how they operate, to justify, under the problem, reaction, solution scenario, create the problem, get the reaction, do something, then offer the solution to the problems you have created. Under the problem, reaction, solution technique, to justify intervention into countries because of terrorism, and justifying more and more freedoms and basic civil rights being taken away in your own country on the excuse of protecting the population from terrorism. And on this Al-Qaeda situation, here's Jason Burke, author of Al-Qaeda Casting a Shadow of Terror. He's talking on a BBC program called The Power of Nightmares. And that is, in many ways, problem, reaction, solution. The power of nightmares. Get people to experience or think they're experiencing a nightmare or potential nightmare, and then save them from the nightmare which you have created. Anyway, Jason Burke says this about Al-Qaeda. The idea, which is critical to the FBI's prosecution, that bin Laden ran a coherent organization with operatives and cells all around the world, of which you could be a member, is a myth, he said. There is no Al-Qaeda organization. There is no international network with a leader, with cadres who will unquestioningly obey orders, with tentacles that stretch out to sleeper cells in America, in Africa, in Europe. That idea of a coherent, structured terrorist network with an organized capability simply does not exist. But what he was talking about there was Al-Qaeda at that time. This ISIS situation is different. This is a new stage. This would appear to be a very organized network, extremely organized, immensely well funded. I mean, I've seen figures of maybe $2 billion they have at their disposal, and extremely well armed with American weaponry for reasons I'll come to. And here's a big piece in the Daily Mail newspaper this week. Jihadi Terror Group PLC. And the reason they call it PLC is because they've produced accounts, like annual accounts of a company, detailing the finances, but also detailing all the murders they've done, the beheadings they've done, and all these horrors that they're carrying out. And it's just like a PLC has produced it. And this is a highly organized operation. And this is, like I say, a new stage.
Initiation to light body, crystalline structures.
Conveyed on 16th of June, 2014. Message from Lady Portia, Meline Portia Lafont.
Precious hearts. We are being initiated into the higher levels of our being and light, where the intrinsic parts of our being are socializing and co-creating with the pristine and crystalline structures of our new self. This is called our renewed self, as we are bathed in the incoming light and with codes that restructure our whole self and our embodiment into a deeper awareness, a more evolved consciousness, and an entirely different level of existing with regards to our vehicle embodiment. Waves of integration along with waves of immersion into light are bringing our focus on the merging again with our higher levels, our I Am presence, our solar Christ and our Christ self. These initiations are assisting us in the re-embodying of our Christ and I Am consciousness so as to execute the restructuring of our light templates to be able and emanate the pristine crystalline light body into which our vehicles and consciousness are changing. As everything takes time, processes and levels, this is not different, and because we are truly dealing with a physical presence here, our vehicle, it is important to focus on this process by allowing, integrating, and going through the initiations that the energies and beings from on high are assisting us with during this process. It requires patience, diligence, balance, focus and awareness of a firm undertaking where you are being asked to surrender in love and with love to the ongoing flow of the time and space continuum. Some might begin to experience their true divine nature as a source, although it will be as a fractal of that source, to give you a taste of what is to come and to allow you to already adapt to that frequency of your own being in order to avoid becoming overwhelmed. Focus and attention are needed in order to stay grounded and balanced through this all, as the body is going to experience many shifts in order to cope with the incoming energies that allow one to continue their journey in a renewed structure of their essence. The crystalline structures of our vehicle are under tremendous pressure in the sense that they are growing and willing to come out and play, in order to be experienced by the human consciousness. We are speaking of a whole new level here where you will find large scales of incoming light being focused on your presence, and vehicle here and where you must sustain a presence in your heart at all times to be able and grow further in that experience of your own crystalline structures. The initiations into the light vehicle and into the crystalline body go in waves of vibrational consciousness where you shall become more aware of your more pristine structure, and in that moment a need arises for less food and more light, for taking deep breaths and drinking lots of pure water. We are given the time to assist our body restructuring and to grow in this process. The initiations are being given by our own higher selves as well as by the masters and angels of light who are familiar with these structures, to be able and assist us all in this grand metamorphic process. Some might already realize and experience their own crystalline blueprint and will find themselves on top of the waves, riding those waves to truly embody some particles and levels of that process and experience how it is to be that crystalline light body, although it might also be in waves and short periods of times, of seconds, to be able and get used to this. The higher templates of our bodies are truly descending in a way of merging again with our auric fields and our heart field as it becomes your resonance, your vibration. As they say, vibration matches vibration, so you adapt to that vibration and that consciousness you emanate, and so you come to embody this and become this as we speak. This can be a time of turbulences and major shifts where there is very little room in between to recover, as it were. This is so to initiate you into this reality and energy, where everything is a constant flow of vibration, to which you adapt and vibrate along with. This may be experienced as becoming more sensitive, and truly high experiences of refined vibrations cross your path where you gain the understanding that vibration is what you represent, and so you attract that which you are. As the leveling up occurs, the old and lower templates are becoming more and more dysfunctional, and they are destined to dissolve as no one gives attention to them anymore as we transcend those layers of illusion, and become aware of our truth equals our essence. Now more than ever you will find yourself in degrees of initiations for the light body Merkaba, in degrees of adaptation as you come to embody this more, as well as in degrees of full transcendence as, once you become that light body, it will be inevitable and even desirable for your energy field to let go of the old layers and energies. Be proud of who you are, where you come from and what you represent in this lifetime, as it is so immensely important to love yourself by heart. It is your heart that is yearning for peace, understanding, and allowance to move beyond the concepts of time and illusion. You all are great bearers of light, and I am so proud of you all and immensely grateful for your hearts.
Lady Portia Meline Lafont.